Welcome to the Explainer from WhyItTV. We're all about exploring the real stories behind the brands and ideas that shape our world. Our whole thing is giving you context over hype and relevance over noise. And we actually use AI as a creative partner to help us do it. Today, we're diving into the anatomy of a true icon, Levi's.
But hey, before we jump in, if you like what we do, it would be awesome if you could take a second to like this video and subscribe to WhyItTV right here on YouTube. And we'd love to hear your own experiences, so drop a comment down below. You can also follow us on X and TikTok. Our handle is @WhyItTV.
Okay, so let's get into it. How on earth does a simple, rugged pant made for miners become a global fashion statement? We're talking about a piece of clothing that has managed to represent work, rebellion, freedom, and just timeless cool, all at the same time. You see, the story of Levi's, well, it's pretty much the story of the blue jean itself. To really get a handle on this, we're going to follow the journey across 4 huge moments. We'll start with a simple patent back in 1873. Then we'll jump to the 1950s when it became the uniform of the rebel. After that, we'll see how it became a symbol of freedom behind the Iron Curtain, and we'll bring it all the way to today, looking at its goals for the future. So where did this all kick off? Well, the story doesn't start with some high-fashion designer in a Paris studio. Nope. It starts with a really smart immigrant entrepreneur with a great idea. Picture this. It's the gold rush, and everybody is heading west to strike it rich. Levi Strauss heads west too, but he's not looking for gold in the ground. He was smarter than that. He knew the real money was in selling the miners all the stuff they needed, the picks, the shovels, and especially the durable clothes for that back-breaking work. And this is where the genius really hits. The miners had a huge problem. Their pants kept ripping, especially at the pockets and other stress points. A local tailor, Jacob Davis, came up with this brilliant idea to use the little copper rivets you see on horse blankets to make the pants stronger. He knew it was a game changer, but he needed a business partner. So he reached out to Levi Strauss, and boom! On May 20th, 1873, they got the patent. The waist overall was born, and it was the blueprint for every single pair of blue jeans to come.
For a long time, Levi's were just practical, purely functional. But, culture has a funny way of taking something and giving it a whole new meaning. And that's exactly what happened next, which brings us to this transformation from workwear to a full-blown cultural symbol.
I mean, for the first 50 or 60 years, Levi's were the absolute undisputed uniform of the American West. If you were doing hard, physical labor, a cowboy out on the range, a lumberjack in the forest, a worker building the railroads, these were your pants. No question. They were tough, they were reliable, and they were built to take a beating. And then, this happened. One moment, one actor, one movie, and everything changes. When Marlon Brando slouched on that motorcycle in his 501s, that image was just electric. It was a lightning bolt. All of a sudden, jeans weren't just for your dad to wear to work anymore. They were cool. They were for the outsiders, the rebels, the kids who were starting to push back against the squeaky clean 1950s. This might just look like a small wording change, but it was huge. This was the company officially catching up to what was already happening in the streets. They were basically saying, we get it. These aren't just work pants anymore. The transformation was complete. They'd become a fashion statement for, well, pretty much everyone. And this rebellion, this new sense of cool, it wasn't just an American thing. Pretty soon, the blue jean became one of the most powerful cultural exports the US ever had. Just listen to this quote. This says everything. For people living behind the Iron Curtain, getting your hands on a pair of Levi's was a huge deal. It wasn't just about the pants. It was about owning a tangible piece of Western freedom, a little bit of rock and roll, a symbol that you were an individual. It wasn't just clothing. It was an idea that you could literally wear. But here's the thing about being a powerful symbol. It comes with a lot of weight. And the story of a 150-year-old global company is never simple. Today, that iconic status is clashing with some of the really tough, complex realities of our modern world. So what it really boils down to is this tension between the legend and the reality. The very things that made Levi's an icon, that built-to-last durability, that timeless style, that feeling of authenticity, are now being judged against its environmental impact, questions about its labor practices, and just a ton of competition. The legend now has to answer to some pretty tough questions. And let's take a quick look at that environmental footprint. Like a lot of big clothing brands, the vast majority of Levi's carbon emissions, we're talking over 99%. It doesn't come from their own stores or offices. It comes from what's called Scope 3, That's the entire massive global supply chain, from growing the cotton to weaving the denim to sewing the final product. That global supply chain has also led to some serious scrutiny over labor practices. For example, there's been an investigation in Canada into allegations of using Uyghur forced labor in their supply chain, which, for the record, the company strongly denies. They also faced an investigation in the US over a plant closure. Now, in response to this stuff, the company points to its supplier code of conduct and says it uses third-party auditors to enforce its standard. So, with all these modern challenges, how does a brand like this stay relevant? Well, funny enough, it seems like the answer is to go back to the beginning, to double down on the values that made it an icon in the first place. So, knowing its environmental impact is a big deal, Levi's has been investing in new tech. A great example is their waterless finishing process. By changing how they finish their jeans, they've saved over 1 billion liters of water since 2011. That's a direct shot at tackling one of the biggest environmental problems in making denim. And this is brilliant because it connects right back to their original identity. They've launched programs like Levi's Second Hand, where people can buy and sell used jeans. This really leans into that core idea that these things are meant to last for years, even decades. It's a super smart way to position themselves as the exact opposite of cheap, disposable fast fashion. Which really leaves us with this one big question to chew on. In today's world, a world that demands total transparency and real sustainability, can this 150-year-old icon of authenticity adapt? Can it not just survive, but actually lead the way into the future? So that's our look into the story of Levi's. But you should know this explainer is just one part of a much bigger topic series we've put together. If you want to go deeper, you should definitely check out the full series over on our YouTube channel. We've got the deep dive, which has way more history and data. There's the debate, where you can hear different expert viewpoints. The critique breaks down all the business strengths and weaknesses. And if you're short on time, the infographic gives you the whole story in a super fast visual summary. We drop a brand new topic like this one right here on YouTube every Friday night at 11:59 p.m. And then we post short clips from the episode every day of the week on our TikTok. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. If you got something out of this, please hit that like button, subscribe to WhyItTV, and let us know what you think in the comments. We really appreciate it. We'll see you back here next Friday for a whole new topic.